Hey everyone, welcome to the final Splinterlands Town Hall of 2024. Uh, uh, I feel like this could be said about most years, but it was, and what's coming up. I got an oh no from Ron. Okay, so should I start over? Okay, all right, take two. Uh, according to Ron, we disconnected there for a minute. I don't know what everybody heard. I'm gonna start over slightly more briefly. Welcome everybody again to the final Splinterlands Town Hall of 2024. We're gonna do a an overview, a year in review of 2024. The team put together a huge list of kind of everything we've done over the year. I'm gonna cherry pick kind of the highlights and talk about those. We're gonna then jump into next year and what the Splinterlands community can expect and look forward to, and what the team sees coming up there. Uh, we're going to talk about Rebellion having just sold out. Perfect kind of timing, was not planned that way, but worked out very nicely. So we can talk about the Rebellion set. Um, yeah, and then as usual, we will go to questions from the audience, and kind of see what you guys want to talk about here as we close out the year. Before we get to that, as usual, we have Investigator and we have Nate on the call. So I'm going to jump over to Investi to give us our development update.
Good morning or good evening, depending on where people are. So we are heading into the end of the year. So we have finished our last update for 2024, but we are working on our next update for 2025. So the things that we have that should be coming up in the next update, the biggest one is going to be the requested custom challenges. So users will be able to pick the rule sets and elements available in a challenge um, to give a little more information on it. After some discussion, we decided that to use this option, there will be a small DEC or credits fee to prevent it from being used for spamming the system. But for anybody that owns a Rooney or has, right now we're ballparking probably 50,000 staked SPS owned and staked. You can use the feature for free and unlimited. So we are finally going to go ahead and give some benefits to owning Rooney, besides all the things they do for land. So you'll have unlimited access to that feature. Uh, a lot of the other stuff we're doing is our quality of life updates. There is a bunch of cleanup for mobile. We're fixing a lot of minor spacing, moving some things around, trying to make sure that the battle button and energy left are visible on most phones without having to scroll anywhere. We're adding a new quality of life feature that you can disable guild invites. So you will not be able to receive guild invites if you don't want to be spammed by people trying to get you into a guild. We have upgraded the indicator on unread Academy panels. It will be hopefully much more visible. We got some feedback that new users had trouble seeing that there was something that they should click on to get more information. And aside from that, we are probably going to have some improvements to the battle replay. There is going to be a skip ahead round and likely a much more an optional enhanced speed control that will let you do a lot more granular speed increments. So hopefully that will let people find a replay speed that is good for them. And those are the high points. There's a lot of other little fixes. We fixed some sorting on the other items page. We made it easier to share links without having to do multiple clicks for battle replays. Cleaned up some of the shop pages so there's not showing vouchers on pages that don't use them anymore. And we've got a couple weeks left, so there'll probably be a bunch more stuff depending on how much vacation people take. So this is just what we've got pretty much ready for the next update, which is not going to be until, I think the first or second Tuesday in January. It's the 7th. Um, Looking a little bit further ahead, as everybody knows, we're working on survival mode, so hopefully that will be out early next year. And for our other probably next big project, they'll be ready around that time, maybe a little later in Q1. Hopefully, Glamours will be getting ready to go at the door, though maybe Nate will talk a little bit more about what we've got if he's got some art for that. And that's kind of the upcoming early 2025 updates.
Cool. Thanks, investigator. Yeah, I mean, specifically on the customizable challenges, that's one of those things where um, clearly a lot of people in the community wanted it, and I was just like, yeah, that sounds great to me. And then poof, I find out that it's been built and ready to go in the next release. So I like when that kind of stuff happens. I like that that's the type of team that we have that is motivated to go and do these things and put these things in when they are able to. So, and there's been a ton of stuff like that. A lot of the smaller changes, like obviously we all work together to make the direction of the larger projects and the overall direction of things. And then for all the smaller quality of life changes, I trust our team members to know to make good decisions on what they can do and put out and when. And that has seemed to be working really well. So I see that going throughout 2025 and into the future. So thank you, investigator, and the dev team for always working to get in that extra stuff. Um, all right, so next we'll go over to Nate the Great to hear what's happening on the creative side.
Howdy. No, I think like what you and Harry said, um, I know that, I don't know about this past year, but the year before, sometimes we get comments in Discord or whatever, and people were like, you guys are going too slow. Go faster, go faster. I don't know. I feel like this year, a big win for us is like the updates were consistent. Sometimes we would have so much stuff that we said, "Hey, we want to do a bi-weekly schedule, but let's do another update just because we're rocking and rolling. We're like, in the zone. Let's just do more updates. Let's give them more stuff." It just seemed like every time I turned around in 2024, we were like changing and building and adding more updates and refining and quality of life stuff. And I'm hoping the community saw that. I know that the team is very passionate, and hopefully that bleeds into what you guys are seeing. uh as far as what Harry's saying that we're already working on and hoping to do beginning of next year, next month even. um I mean, on top of that, Matt, you had the great idea of like a few, I don't know, maybe a month ago. It was like weeks ago. You said, "Hey, we were talking about the new player experience." It was a new player experience meeting, which we have every week. And for those of you in the community who wonder, like, yeah, did the team lose sight of the new player experience? Like, what's going on? We literally have a meeting designated. If you didn't know this already, every single week we have a meeting just to discuss things that we can do for the new player experience. Like, what else can we do? Is there any low hanging fruits? Is there any opportunities where we can get the most bang for our buck in those regards? And Matt had the idea of like, well, when a new player comes in and they're like excited about the game and they like it and they want to buy some packs, how can we make that um, easy to understand? Like right now, there's packs on the peer-to-peer market. There's the packs that literally just sold out. So if they go to the Rebellion screen and they're like, "Oh, it's sold out. What do I do?" I gotta wait until Conclave comes out to play this game properly. Like they're a little lost, and they might have to go watch a YouTube video or figure out how to get some packs so that they can have that pack opening experience. That I realize that it's cool to get them all singles off the peer to peer market, but I mean, we could all agree there's a little joy and celebration and anticipation, that comes with opening a brand new pack and seeing what's inside of it. So, with that in mind, here I'm going to show my screen first, and then I'll talk about it because I was told to do that. So what we're looking at here is a pack shop screen where it's not just the latest pack like Rebellion or upcoming Conclave, but rather it's all the packs you could possibly buy. So I'm a new player on day one, and I'm like, I get a rundown of like, oh, these are all the packs that throughout the game's history, and I have easy access to any of them. And if you click on one of them, like for instance, here's if they click on Chaos Legion, they'll see something like this. They're going to go to a dedicated landing page themed specifically for that particular set. So all the old shop pages we used to have that celebrated, oh, this new set's coming out. Here's the new abilities for it, or here's the cool cards that come with it, or here's the special attributes or benefits of buying into this set. We're going to have a dedicated landing page for each and every one, so that a brand new player on day one can relive those moments in Splinterlands history and say, oh, okay, this is what I'm getting if I get one of the packs from this set. I might get access to the first time these new abilities came out and these new strategies and all this other stuff. And then of course you guys have seen what Rebellion looks like, but they click on Rebellion, they'll see something like that. And you'll notice that during mic check right before we got on here, Matt was explaining like, yeah, um, what this essentially is this is basically setting up a fancier storefront for you guys, for the community, for the players who have like just yesterday, day before, Clayboyne, I think was he even had me FOMOing. I went and bought like 25 packs because I'm like, oh no, we're running out. And I bet you a bunch of you guys did the same thing. But essentially, if you guys are sitting on a little pile of Rebellion packs or older packs, whatever, um, this is a storefront whereby a brand new player in a few weeks or a month from now could come in, and they'll basically be hyped up. We're marketing to them to buy from you. I mean, is essentially what this is, which is pretty cool. This just goes back to the whole community driven, decentralized aspects of what we're trying to accomplish with Web3, right? It's not just a company catering to the players, it's like the company facilitating a way to get players to be able to more reach a level of success in selling to other players, which is crazy, which is driving up asset values for everybody involved. It's a magical thing, and I know that that's a big part of what makes Matt tick and what he's motivated by in accomplishing with this game and this ecosystem and this community. So it's cool. I'm excited about it. I'm glad for you guys to see it in the next coming months. Um, I'm trying to think what else I could share. Survival
You know,
modes kind of,
if can
yeah,
because I want to expand on that a little
yeah.
bit. Um, it all the whole concept of the redefined shop came from, we're looking at new players are coming into the game, um, and there are lots of options, right? Ways to buy different things, and they're not really shown. And you kind of have to like go through the different market screens and like figure out what all this is. And I feel like a lot of people are just not going to do that. So the idea of this was, we should show clearly and cleanly all the options that are available to purchase, not just from us, but from the market, from the players, from the community. And new players might not come in; they might not really even understand or know where or how it's being purchased, but they should be able to come in and just be like, "Oh, cool! These Chaos Legion packs are super cheap, and I don't have a ton of money to spend, so I can just go buy those." And it's just as easy as buying packs, when they're on sale, originally. That's kind of where the idea of this came from. And like Nate said, it's just making the shop not just the things you're buying from Splinterlands or the DAO. It's just making the shop the place where you go to just buy pretty much anything that's available. And the goal is twofold. I hope it makes it a better and easier experience for new people coming in to find and be able to buy the stuff they want to buy. And then the flip side is it'll help more money be, funneled into the assets and go to the community. So this is like one of those relatively simple things that I think will actually, be pretty big for us going forward.
Nice. No, I when Matt first explained it, it was like, yeah, new shop page, yeah, no problem. But then, the more I think about it, the more he explains his thoughts on it, the more exciting it gets. So hopefully you guys feel the same way. Um, Survival mode, Harry mentioned, that's going to be a huge priority come January, is like hit the ground running with that kind of stuff. So in that regard, I did share a couple screenshots last town hall about little adjustments to the lobby. If you guys missed it, then I'll just throw it in here again. I believe this was the what I shared for the modern lobby and some little tweaks and adjustments. And before I move on, this is something that we creative and support have a bi-weekly meeting where we sync up and we get their thoughts, so that before we actually hand over any UI specs over to engineering, we want to make sure that nothing fell between the cracks, that we didn't miss anything, and more importantly, get feedback on how to better optimize and refine the UX of the UI. Because we're sitting there with our blinders on in our cubicle and just trying to do what we think is best, and then we miss something, and support's like, hey, did you think of this, or what about that? Or they're usually talking to community members in Discord, and they're like, hey, this comes up now and then, maybe this is a good opportunity to bake it in, this thing that they've been asking for or whatever. So that's a meeting we had bi-weekly. But the last meeting, we kind of went over this lobby screen and opportunities. One of the things you'll notice is there's a button on there under there that says the match season activity under the battle button. Typically, a lot of people have come to call this the battle log screen, which is unfortunate because that's not the main event, right? Some list view of the previous battles. This should be this is very much a lobby in which you are entering the arena to go fight, and that should be the main event. That should be what excites people. So we are playing with the idea. I don't know how this is going to go down. Engineering might say, yeah, that's going to have to be phase 2, which is fine. But we were entertaining the notion of sliding the battle log and the leaderboards and stuff into a child screen accessible by that button. And what that does is it puts all the focus on the battle and the battle stats and the events, and then it frees up space underneath, so that if we did want to scroll, imagine everything you could stick down there, whether it's news or in-game chat, or unlock achievements of, like, here's the characters that are doing the most damage today, or here's the characters that did the most healing, or here's the best players in the last 24 hours, or whatever. There's a lot of opportunity for to increase engagement rather than just data, right? But it's just something we're toying with, and I wanted to give you guys an opportunity, the community, to kind of like give us your thoughts. You think that's a good idea? That's a bad idea? Because we're always trying to listen to you, and maybe this is one of those moments where we can, like, get your guys' insight on how you feel about stuff like that. But anyways, and then here's Wild. I don't think I ever showed the revised Wild, but there it is. And then of course Survival, which you guys saw, I think, last town hall as well. But I'll share it just in case you missed last town hall. Then you can see what that's about. Well, what's cool about survival mode is that a new mechanic, which may or may not make it at launch as survival mode. I think we've been pretty clear on that. Everything's TBD. But at some point, we did want to introduce the idea of cards getting depleted of their energy and then finding a way to resurrect them somehow, or replenish them, or revive them. And so internally, we went back and forth on the what to call it, what it should look like, this new mechanic. Obviously, it's easy to go to potion, and so I'll show you some concept art for what would be a revive potion. And so we wanted to make sure it wasn't the same color as our existing potions, which are already like red and gold. So this would probably, if we go with the potion route, and we have the battle mage, you guys chugging potions to kind of revive the cards, or I guess they would take the potion and, like, I don't know, sprinkle the cards, right? then that's probably, it would look something like that. Another idea we had was, well, let's call it Phoenix Ash. I like the mental image that comes from the idea of Phoenix Ash. And so it would look something like that, maybe a pouch that you wear, and you take a pinch of it, like a pinch of salt, you get a pinch of ash, kind of rub it, or maybe toss it on a bunch of cards, um, and have them come back to life, right? This is concept art, by the way. I asked for some improvements, but I'll show you the work in progress anyways. But of a battle mage, maybe sprinkling some ash on a card, and you'll see the floating cards are kind of dead and lifeless. There's not much to them, but then boom, Phoenix Ash brings one of the cards to life in a kind of like poof, a smoky magician's act almost. So we have some cool ideas. If you are the community have thoughts about, like, I like potions or I like ash, then make your thoughts known in Discord or wherever you might be, and we'll listen to that, and then kind of figure it out, navigate those artistic elements, if you will. Trying to see if I think that's all I had to talk about for survival mode. Oh, and it's Christmas time. So here's a free wallpaper for celebrating Splinterlands Winterfest. Go stick that on your computer and be more festive, why don't you? Um, the other thing we could talk about is, of course, Conclave Arcana. That is, now that we ended Rebellion, I feel safe in hyping that up a little bit, at least a tiny bit, because that's the next set coming around. It's not that far away when you think about it. For those of you who want to start preparing for like a pre-sale event, or you just want to make sure that as Chaos Legion fades out of Modern, that you're able to compete at the level that you want to compete at, and you're like, oh man, I better start saving up, like it's only a few months away or whatever, then yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So right now we have we were it's a small thing, but it excites me because I have my roots originally in graphic design. So trying to figure out something as simplistic as what the set icon looks like. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a nerd. That excites me, going into Illustrator or another program and figuring out the golden ratio aspects of the curvature of how this thing is going to look. So here is for those of you who like live streaming or want something to put in a Photoshop so you can add it to your social media and stuff. This is basically a preview of what right now we're thinking the icon will be for Conclave Arcana. You can see it's kind of like a intertwining C and A if you look at it just right. The If you want a more effects driven version, here's something that you can use if you want. Um, I'm not going to get into the background art too much. There's a little Easter egg stuff going on there. Joey, who was our narrative lead, has done a great job in expanding the lore of Splinterlands and what Conclave Arcana means. Essentially, I'll give you, for those of you who care, I'll be quick. Um, the Wizards Council used to be a legit cool group of wizards, right? In fact, Yaba P. Matt is considered lore wise, if you read the encyclopedia or otherwise, he is one of those members of this original council. But through I don't know, scheming and bad things happening, that Wizards Council ended up dead or lost or mysteriously missing. And one of the remaining members was Portia, who will be a big character coming with Conclave. She set up a new Wizards Council and called it the Conclave Arcana. When Silas of the Rift came with the Chaos Legion, she kind of like pretended to be the Saruman to his Sauron, and partnered up and allied and facilitated his conquest of the Splinterlands. And we'll see kind of like some of the underlying story kind of evolve past just good guys versus bad guys, and you're going to see a lot of cool stuff. If you guys like to read the lore or understand that part of what makes the set tick, then there's some cool stuff coming with Conclave. I guess I'll leave it at that for now, until we get closer. Um, it would be silly to talk about Conclave without at least previewing a little bit of art. but I'm going to warn you. When we release a new set, we have really enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. We enjoy giving the final rendered versions of artwork and stats to the community to share. So our top influencers and top streamers who love to talk about Splinterlands and get people hyped up and excited about that, they really do such a great job. I don't want to break the rhythm with that. So chances are I'm going to be miserly with some of the rendered artwork as we lead up to Conclave, because I want to like reserve a lot of that stuff for the community to share that alpha. But I'll share some sketches, some rough concept sketches just to whet your appetites. So this right here is, let's start off with cute. Here's a this is actually a creature from an elemental plane, and then of course you can tell Earth based elemental, but a cute little guy. Reminds me of like a little Pokemon character. We also have fire. This guy looks cool. I like the way this guy looks with his little samurai sword going on. So there's a preview of a fire character. Death. Death is, I have a fond place in my heart for Death, so I had to share a Death character. This guy looks pretty beastly. Like you don't want to come face to face with this guy when he gets angry. And then I had to share this. I don't know if he's on right now. He's usually bouncing around somewhere. But Hewitt is a long time member of the community, and oftentimes he'll poke in one of these town halls. He'll go on the chat or somewhere and babble nonsensically about how we got to add a giraffe to the roster. So Joey found out about, like, okay, he wants a giraffe, does he? So this is a neutral card, and it's not just a normal giraffe. It is a vicious giraffe. Like, you can't just have a normal giraffe walking around the arena. This has to be an angry giraffe. So I thought that was funny. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I shared that. I shared that. You know what? I'll end with the vicious giraffe. I think that's a good ending point. So there you go.
I, I'm not sure where to go from "I'll end with a vicious giraffe." Uh, you know. Um, okay. Well, vicious giraffe. There you go. From llama mages and all sorts of other things. Have arrived at vicious giraffe. Um, as our entryway into 2025 and beyond. All right, thank you, Nate. Awesome stuff. This is often in these town halls I get to see for the first time a lot of this stuff too. So that's really cool. I talked about the the pack screen, um, and why I'm excited for that. It's one of those small things, but there's like a lot of those small things put together lead to a much better product. And then obviously I've talked a bunch about survival mode and why I'm excited for that. And then Conclave Arcana uh, probably needs no discussion for the importance of that for next year. So with that being said, I want to take a look back and talk a little bit about what happened in 2024. So I learned from the large document that was put together by Royal Eagle and Investigator that it looks like there were 37 releases, um, you know, over the course of 2024, out of 52 weeks in the year. So the team has been busy, and there was a lot of talk about doing an every other week release schedule. That clearly went out the window. A lot of every other weeks. Um, but yeah, it's so like again, for anyone who might complain about not getting a lot of stuff done, a lot of stuff has been done, and I get that. I feel the same way. There's so much neat things that we want to happen, and we talk about, and we design out. I want it all to be done too, but yeah, the pretty small team that we have is churning out a lot of stuff, and I feel like the speed has been actually increasing, um, over the course of the year, which is really exciting. Also going into next year, where we really have also a very jam-packed release schedule that we're trying to hit for Q1 of next year. We'll see if we get to everything, but even if we get to like the majority of that stuff, that'll be a real big quarter coming up. So the highlights from the 37 releases over the past year, uh, in roughly chronological order, is we launched the conflict system for Rebellion, the new way of doing the airdrops, which I think was very successful. Looking forward to doing that ongoing for Conclave Arcana, which we talked about in the announcement for that set. Um, the glint system was introduced, so basically a complete overhaul of how the rewards work in the game, and that really paves the way for our onboarding experience and for the new user, the new player experience, being able to have soul-bound rewards that can't be like farmed or exploited. Really opens up a lot of opportunities for what we're able to do. Um, when new players come in, to allow them to earn things and have a rewarding experience right off the bat without breaking the economy. We had the Bitcoin halving event, which was a promo card event, uh, which has become a tradition, I guess, every 4 years now, to celebrate that huge milestone in the crypto world. Um, we added the wild pass for wild format battles, which again falls into that category of like a step that was necessary for allowing us to do the things we want to do for the new user experience. Because we always, in the past, were like, there's so many things that we want to do, but we can't because then it is able to be exploited by, bot farms or whatever it is. Um, so now we've gotten to a point where we can do all these things. We can give out free soulbound rewards to players, and we don't have to worry about it being farmed and exploited, because you need to either, bots are not allowed in modern format, and wild format requires the wild pass, and then the upcoming survival mode is going to require cards basically as your energy. So it just allows us to do a lot more things and not have to worry like, oh crap, we can't just give out a bunch of uh, free soulbound cards as rewards, because then players will make 10,000 accounts and use them to farm. That's no longer an issue. uh, so these are all, um, most of the things that we've done, I feel like, are leading up to our big goal of drastically increasing the number of players in this ecosystem. um, Additionally, the Soul Keep game was released. Obviously, that was a big milestone for something we put out and sold, and we were able to, put that into the hands of Double Coconut, who were the developers for the game, and were able to get that game released so that people who bought those packs could finally get to use them in that new tower defense style game. We implemented one-click set rentals, which again are going to be, I think, a very key part of our onboarding experience going forward. Um, we launched the reward card set for Rebellion, which those cards, in my opinion, are pretty awesome, and we were definitely kind of overdue for the next set of reward cards. So that was a big major release. There was obviously a lot of new mechanics and abilities that went along with that. Uh, there was the rework to the voucher tokens and the voucher shop, which as voted on by the player community through the DAO um, governance proposals. There was the Hall of Legends promo card shop, again also via a DAO vote and proposal to fund that and sell those promo cards every month. The most recent one just ended, and the last sale starts in a couple weeks. Um, so be sure to check that out. There's obviously the Heloise, the Hollow 100-day card auction, which I think has been a really fun and exciting event. It's been going very strong so far, and assuming people continue to like that, it's something we'll look to do again in the future. Um, we made a whole bunch of updates to our whole onboarding process. There's like a little like sort of quest system for new people coming into the game. We made it so that players can experience pretty much the entire game at this point without being forced to buy a spell book, which is a huge drop off point. Royal led a sort of charged to go through and identify all the different things that were confusing new players or that they were doing, incorrectly, and making a lot of, I guess, guardrails, we've been calling them, or like warning messages if new players are trying to say, buy wild cards that are only allowed in wild format when they play a modern format, or buying things on land when they don't have any land, encouraging new players to join guilds, and specifically, working with our community to set up guilds uh, for new players that help new players, get into the game. So there's been like a ton of small updates around the onboarding experience, including an overhaul of the affiliate system to the new ambassador program. Again, from based on the original proposal by Bulldog. Um, that was recently released to encourage people, to encourage our players even more to bring in new people into the game. Um, over the course of the year, we completed the update of the entire website to the latest technology that allows it to be, mobile friendly by default, along with, you know, the desktop version. So rather than our previous mobile app was a completely separate project, completely separate site that had to be updated alongside the desktop site every time something changed, and that really didn't happen, and that's why we eventually had to shut down the mobile app. So now at this point that the entire website has been updated, everything automatically works on mobile. There's still work to do to improve, the look and feel of things. But every time we release something new, we don't have to separately release a mobile version. It's all just part of it. So that was, I mean, even though that was behind the scenes, like the magnitude of that project is kind of staggering. It was, there's the saying of, like, swapping out the engine of a train while the train is moving. Here we pretty much swapped out the entire train while the train is moving. So it was one of those projects that when it started I was like, I just don't see how we're ever going to complete this thing. And the team did it, and they completed it. The last release, I think, was when it was finally 100% done. um, and that really, again, opens the door to quicker development going forward. From the DAO side of things, the DAO multi-sig treasury was set up over the course of the year. There were the treasurers were elected, which is a big milestone, in my opinion, for the ecosystem. Cryptomancer was hired by the DAO to continue the development of land and to help the company out, and also uh, the JPTR company was hired to develop the validators, which were developed and pretty much finished over the course of this year, and are currently scheduled to be released in January, which is again another huge milestone. Um, and then, in the background of just running the company, a milestone, in my opinion, that I've been working on for a long time is getting us to a roughly break even level. So we, aren't continuing to lose funds and worrying about running out of runway, while still, maintaining a really awesome team, and still, getting out a ton of work. So um, to me, that, as one dealing with the difficulties of running a business, that's a big relief, as we've managed to get our expenses down extremely to a much more comfortable level going forward. So that's my kind of overview of the major items. I don't know, maybe at some point we can share the full list, which is like 4 pages of relatively small type in a list of every single thing that was done. But it was a really, really big year in 2024, with the backdrop of a difficult, just the difficult environment for us while we managed to get all this done. Um, and it sets us up really, really well for 2025. So I want to discuss, what I see for next year a little bit. I know I've done that in the past. So for those of you who listen to every town hall, some of this might be a repeat, but hopefully it's good to hear again, maybe from a little bit of a different perspective. And yeah, I mean, and Nate and Investi, feel free to jump in if you have anything to add, or if you think there was anything I missed in the year in review that's worth calling out. Um, just shout it out. Oh, it looks like Investi shared the full 2024 release notes with everybody. So, if you want some light reading over the holidays, feel free to take a look at that. Um, yeah, so 2025, I've been thinking like how to put this. I often feel like, especially on these things, on the town halls, I'm not reading like prepared statements or in any way. I struggle sometimes to get the thoughts in my head out in a way that makes sense. And someone in the past had mentioned to me that there's a lot of times where I start saying something and then I stop and I kind of rephrase something because in my head I'm like, I think of it differently. Um, and they were like, sometimes it can be hard to follow your thought processes because I start saying something and then I go back and jump to a different topic, or not different topic, but like I jump back and start rephrase things. So I'm trying to figure out, because in my head I have this. I'm the most excited uh, that I ever have been for what's coming up. Because usually when I'm down in the weeds of everything, it can be daunting and it can be stressful and it makes me very not optimistic. And the last bull run in 2021 and everything that happened, I totally wasn't expecting. So I wasn't optimistic about it because I wasn't expecting it. And we also were completely unprepared for it. So it led to me almost going crazy and having a nervous breakdown. So it wasn't even something to be optimistic about, although the a lot of things in the game were going well. But this time around, I felt through the course of 2024, even when things were very difficult, to me it felt very similar to 2020. Um, the difficulties were a lot of the same things. I felt a lot of the same way. Um, and back then I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know how things were going to change in 2021, obviously. And so through the course of this year, I knew in the back of my mind, even as I was pessimistic about things or whatever, I knew in the back of my mind, well, it feels like 2020. You saw how that turned out last time. It's, if I had to bet, more than likely things will turn around again this time. So it helps me to keep going through all that. And then more recently, I think we've started to see it start to happen. So at one point, it's like, well, okay, it happened last time. Does that really mean it's going to happen again this time? I don't know, but it's starting to happen. Um, and so that to me just gives more, more weight to the fact that I think it's going to happen again. Um, and when I say it, I mean, another crypto crazy bull market that is going to bring Splinterlands along for the ride. The difference this time, I mean, there's many differences, which are all great. The differences are that one, we are prepared for it. We have a great team handling all of this stuff. If those of you who were around in 2021 probably remember the site not working half the time, all sorts of problems, customer support wait times of many many months, if ever. Things were extremely difficult because we were not ready to handle what happened. Now we're ready, not just with the team, but also the product. The economy was not ready. The way it was set up was not ready last time for what happened. We saw what happened with the DEC token. It went to crazy high levels, which is not how things are supposed to happen. There were all sorts of opportunities for players to exploit the rewards and the system. That we totally weren't ready for. All that type of stuff where we've worked for the past few years to address. And so the next time around, assuming a similar kind of bull craziness happens again, um, our system is designed properly where it, as far as we know, is not able to be exploited. So all the value is able to be channeled into the system, into the assets and the SPS tokens in the right way, and stay there and go to the people who really are putting in the time and effort and money and energy and deserve it. So all these things, in my mind, make me more excited um, than how it was previously. And on top of that, everything that happened in 2021 and 2022 was also in the backdrop of a governmental, administration in the United States that was dead set against it happening, which is crazy when you think about it. We have the government of the United States kind of doing everything they can to stop this, and things still went as crazy as they did. Um, but it was extremely difficult for the company. All sorts of legal meetings and issues and risks and problems. We've had bank accounts get shut down, for no reason other than we are related to crypto. So that's part of the headaches that we had to deal with, and money that we had to spend in the past. Um, as we went through this, and still, despite all that, things were kind of off the charts in those years. This time around, it appears we're going into a governmental administration that not only is not against cryptocurrency and what we're doing, but seems to actually be supportive of it, which is crazy to think about, honestly, if you've been in this space for any amount of time. So it's just I can't even say what will possibly happen, if we actually have an environment similar to 2021 and 2022, except we have a government that is supportive of it rather than against it. And from the Splinterlands perspective, we have a team and a product that is ready for it. So that's why I would say I'm by far the most optimistic I've ever been about the future of this project. And I know some people look at the SPS price and things, especially today, and are like, "Well, Bitcoin's at over 100,000. What's happening here? Why isn't this happening for Splinterlands?" To me, these things, they take longer than you expect. And to me, we're mirroring the end of 2020, 4 years ago in the 4-year cycles. That's also when Bitcoin had broken its previous all-time highs. It took another 3 to 6 months before that really filtered down into Splinterlands and altcoins and other projects. So I don't see why it would be any different this year. Of course, I want it to be now or yesterday, but these things take time. It doesn't mean that all those things I just talked about aren't happening. It's just it takes time for that to happen, and we haven't even remotely scratched the surface, in my opinion, of what it means to be in a bull run, uh, at all yet. Um, on the flip side, obviously, just because it seems like these things are likely to happen, anything can change. I want to put the usual disclaimers, like things might work out extremely differently than I expect or that we expect. That's part of being in this space. There's also lots more competition now than there was previously. Splinterlands, especially at the very beginning, benefited by the fact that it was one of the only blockchain-based games that was around at the time. Obviously, now there's tons and tons. We do our best to still be on the cutting edge and do cool new things that those games haven't even thought of or started to do, and we're going to continue to do that. Um, and what we need to do going forward, given that backdrop of more competition, is really start marketing. We can't rely on just being one of the only ones and everyone hearing about us and trying us out for that reason. So we've talked about in previous town halls, everything we're planning to do from a marketing and promotional standpoint to make sure that we can raise ourselves above the noise in the space, and get more people to see what's going on here. So, with the usual disclaimers and not financial advice, I just try to look as objectively as possible at what's going on, compare it to what's happened in the past, and I don't even honestly know how to expect what might happen giving all these things. Like we've just uh never had ever a situation where the governments of the world, and especially the US government, were ever supportive of crypto. It's so foreign to me that I still don't know that I can process it. Most of you, having not run a crypto project, don't know the levels of crap that that have gone on for crypto founders over the last years, and the prospect of that going away is kind of mind-boggling. And not just going away, but like maybe even flipping to being supportive of it. I don't even know what to say or how to imagine it. So we're gonna see what happens. And again, Splinterlands is, everything I've been doing is how do we position ourselves to take advantage of this. Um, I will in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm just going to recap also what we talked about the last town hall, more specifically the projects that we're planning for early 2025, in case anyone missed those. And then we'll go for the last hour into questions and see what the community wants to talk about. But yeah, we have a bunch of major projects that we're trying to see if we can get out in Q1 of 2025. It may be a little ambitious, but again, I think we'll be able to knock out a bunch of these, and they're all really important. One is getting a mobile app back in app stores. We have used the funds from the Hive DAO to hire Studkev, who is the developer behind Hive Keychain, to build the mobile app out for Splinterlands. He's working on that. He's making a ton of progress. We still think that's going to be released in Q1. It'll be awesome and really help our marketing efforts to have a mobile app back in the app stores and have just a better mobile experience overall. We talked about survival mode. It's been a contentious thing in the community. Um, for a bunch of reasons, but I still firmly believe that this is a really going to be a really exciting new game mode for Splinterlands. And the initial version that we plan to put out, hopefully in January, is just going to be scratching the surface of this. And allowing us to kind of tweak it and get it to a good state before we really see how we can expand it into modern versions, or no bot versions, or guild brawl versions, whatever it is. I think this concept of cards having the energy themselves rather than accounts having the energy is something from back in the early days that never got put into the game. And I still think it's kind of the way to go going forward. So really looking forward to survival mode. Um, we plan to do a lot more work on the onboarding experience. I mean, anyone who's looked at it, we've made a lot of efforts, but it's still a difficult experience for new players coming in for a lot of reasons. One thing that I thought I had talked about in the past, but when I was on the People's Guild last night talking to them, they hadn't heard about it. Um, so maybe I hadn't. But one of the things that we want to do for new players is to add some type of like training set of cards. So like a set of cards, like any other set. Um, except that they are, they're objectively worse. They're underpowered, and they're kind of more basic. They don't have the new, interesting abilities. They're just like the fewer basic abilities, but still they be offered in packs, so new players can come in. They can, as they play their first battle, they earn a bunch of packs of the training set, so they can still crack open packs. They'll still be legendary cards and epic cards and rare cards. They can combine the cards and level them up. Um, so they can experience all that part of the Splinterlands game, uh, without before they're required to make a purchase. Um, and those cards will also be available to all of our players, just like anything. They'll probably be just like soulbound cards that can't be unbound. Um, but it's a way to give a better free to play experience, that's kind of familiar to new players coming in, and hopefully have them have a rewarding, enjoyable experience in the game. And then obviously, if they really want to be competitive, they're going to need Rebellion and Conclave Arcana, just because the training set cards are going to be purposely very, very underpowered. So instead of having people come in and just be like, well, you really can't do anything or earn anything unless you go buy stuff, which causes a lot of people just to leave. We want people to come in and have a fun, rewarding experience where they get to crack open packs, get legendary cards, combine cards, you know, be able to be competitive in Bronze League. Um, and then over time, I think they'll be much more likely to kind of migrate over to buying the real assets in the game. We've talked a lot about glamour and cosmetic system, which again is something we've been talking about forever, and very excited to actually see that on the near term horizon. It'll open up a lot of opportunities for um, utility for land resources, vouchers, glint, DEC, everything, in a way that doesn't break the game economy, and allows pretty much you guys, our core players, to really highlight and show off that you guys have been around forever and have earned all this stuff in a really cool way. Not just card skins, but really cool effects that stand out very obviously, and will give benefits in the game. so increased rewards and all sorts of other stuff that we're looking at. Um, we have validators I mentioned scheduled to be released, like live mainnet validators. It's happening, planned for January of next year. Major milestone. It's like the SPS token will be, 100% fully decentralized, run on effectively its own chain. It opens up a lot of opportunities for better bridges, better, integration with whether it's exchanges or fiat onboarding services or all that stuff. And it really just gives the community complete control over the token. So that's a major milestone that's been in the work for many years. Land updates, Cryptomancer's been on and talked about that. Land 1.75 is also expected to go out in Q1 of next year. It'll open it up to more resources, more trading, more activity, and then we'll just be able to jump from that, hopefully into more of the 2.0 stuff and adding, utility for land into other parts of the game, whether it's for earning glamours and cosmetics or phoenix ashes or whatever it is. A lot of now that we have a dedicated and good developer working on land, again thanks to you guys in the DAO for hiring him to do that. I expect land to go much more quickly and more smoothly. um, and then to sort of cap all that off, it's Conclave Arcana, the next major set release. And I'll mention, that the whole system at this point is set up where money coming into the system goes into the SPS token. And to date, we haven't seen that work very much yet, because unfortunately, we've had a situation where more money has typically been going out of the system than coming into the system. But the one time we saw that start to work was when we released Rebellion, which was the first time this system was set up this way. And I think the SPS token something like tripled in price over the first few months of Rebellion being released. And then, it unfortunately kind of fizzled out a little bit after that. So, um, here I look at a similar situation, hopefully happening with Conclave Arcana, but then again with the change in backdrop that I mentioned that I'm looking forward to in 2025, both being a bull market year and the change in administration and all these other things. Um, my hope and expectation is that will not fizzle out and will instead lead to what we've talked about, the flywheel effect really coming into play. So very much looking forward to seeing Conclave Arcana being the real kickoff for that. And on top of all these things, we have Blaze, who couldn't make it here today on the call, but is hopefully going to be a regular going forward. And we have Andrew and Scott, who are helping us out part time, who previously led the marketing group at Alluvium, who I'm also hoping to have on a town hall to talk to you guys directly at some point. It's kind of be the first time ever in the history of Splinterlands that we've really had a professionally run marketing campaign along with a major set release, or really at all, along with anything. Um, so the idea is not only to release all this stuff, um, have a great onboarding experience, but also then to really get a bunch of people come and try this out. Hopefully, at the same time where money's coming in, the SPS flywheel system is starting to work, and to try to trying to like put everything in all at once and hopefully see it explode, um, in ways that we haven't ever seen before, even potentially beyond what happened in 2021. So again, this is a jam packed year in 2024, even more jam packed just in the first quarter of 2025 is what we're shooting for. Um, and it's why, like I said, I've never been more optimistic about the future of Splinterlands in particular. Um, and it's probably going to take a little longer and go differently than we think and expect. But it's really hard to imagine how all this stuff could somehow go wrong, and not work out pretty well for us. It's certainly a possibility, but it's pretty low probability in my estimation that some of this stuff doesn't really stick and make a big difference. All right, so there we go. It's been exactly 1 hour. It's noon Eastern time here on December 19th. I don't think I said the date at the beginning. We had a little fumbled start there. So for anyone who is confused about what the date is, or they're watching this on replay later, it's December 19th, 2024, noon Eastern. We're gonna jump into questions from the community. So let's there you go. Ron is quick with the trigger opening the Q&A session in Discord, and we also I think Ron, let me know if I'm wrong, but you'll cross post questions from other things into Discord. Um so I can see them there. So I'll give it a minute here while I'll continue to drone on while people preload some questions, and then we'll talk about them. I don't know what Nate and Vesty, what do you guys, how do you guys feel for going into 2025?
I'll let Harry go first.
2024 has been a long year. So looking forward to 2025, though also very, very tired after the marathon that has been 2024. But excited about the new set and the rotation of modern. So we'll see what things look like when the very large set of Chaos Legion moves out to Wild, and probably a lot less max decks playing in Modern than we've been seeing. And also looking forward to finally getting Glamours out the door that have been kind of on the burner for a while. Nate, how are you?
No, I mean, I don't think anyone fully appreciates the impact that Glamours will have on the ecosystem, the economy, everything. And it just simply goes to the fact that we've gone for like so long, like 6 years, where essentially, um, what do you have to sell? Cards. What do you get for rewards? Cards. What can you use Glint for? Cards. Like just cards, 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 cards. And the more cards we add in the system, the more people get concerned about whether it's the dilution of the value of those cards, or the inflation of it, or too many cards makes it too complicated to play, or the balancing challenges that result from the game design of having so many cards, just like cards, 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 cards. So um, land was cool in that it introduced a non-typical card, land deeds. It was like, wait, what's this? This isn't. These aren't normal cards. These are. Can you even call them cards? They're. I own a plot of land now. It's like it was something different, and the fact that now we're going to do that again and introduced in the ecosystem, something that is not the same, and that can really jumpstart the economy in ways that we haven't seen before, I think is exciting. And the fact that at the same time, it also represents, like what Matt was saying a little bit ago, kind of a social flex for those who've been around. Um, it represents a potential sink and a potential mechanism for for crafting and land and all kinds of other stuff it might turn into and morph into. So I'm excited about the possibilities of whether we'll have glamours that suck up vouchers, glamours that suck up DEC, glamours that suck up Glint, glamours that maybe we can give to the landowners someday to craft, or things like that. Like, it's just a new toy to play with in the sandbox. And I'm excited where it's going to end up, where, maybe not right away, whatever we launch with is won't be the end of it, but it'll evolve over time. And I don't know, like, it's cool. And I think the other stuff that I'm excited about is not even the major projects. It's like all the stuff in between, all the little tiny quality of life updates. I think that little by little, as some of the screens that I've seen the devs working on to kind of further improve the actual gameplay, so as the marketing ramps up and streamers start sharing this game called Splinterlands, and they go on live stream and they see what the game looks like for the first time on day one, whether it's the team build or just the matchup screen, or the battle itself. Like right now, you guys have gotten previews of it, but phase 1, 2, and 3. We do have, eventually you're going to see that background battlefield kind of animated a little bit, and the trees swaying and glowing, and there's stuff just sitting on the shelf ready for when we're ready in 2025 to say, hey, let's sneak this in on one of the updates or whatever. Um, that kind of stuff, the overall production quality of the gameplay, that excites me. I can't wait for you guys to see more and more of that bleed into the with like we don't announce it a whole bunch. Like usually you guys just log in after a Tuesday maintenance window and you go, "Oh, look at that." That's something we love to do is just kind of sneak in some of that stuff. So I think hopefully we can sneak in plenty of that over 2025. So that excites me. But yeah, all the stuff, Conclave, everything. There's a lot to look forward to.
Thanks, Nate and Investi. Yeah, I think generally the whole team shares that excitement because I mean the team are all players for the most part and personally invested in this product and project. So we all seem to feel this optimism and it's infectious and makes us want to keep working and doing the stuff to make it a reality. All right, so let's get to questions. The first one from Moffitt in Discord. Hey Matt, how have you been this month? This has been a very, very good month. Probably one of the best months that I can remember in many years. So thank you for asking, and that's because of Splinterlands and lots of other things as well. And we hope to keep it going and continue to have better months for me and everyone here. The question is it possible to sell the Conclave Arcana for SPS instead of DEC? We need an SPS pump to pull in more players. So this is an important thing to understand. Selling it for DEC is effectively selling it for SPS, right? The system is built this way on purpose. So if we traditionally most products or projects have a token and they sell stuff for that token and that it doesn't really work because the token's price is so volatile that you try to price something in the token um, and and then either it becomes way too expensive or way too cheap. It's hard for people to plan ahead because you don't know where the token price is going to be and it's hard to price anything appropriately. So that's again one of the really innovative things that I think that we're doing that I haven't seen any other project do is to set it up this way where we have the DEC token which is meant to be a relatively stable coin backed by SPS, and then the way you mint DEC is burning SPS tokens. I know we haven't seen that. I mentioned just a little bit ago that we haven't really seen that work a lot yet, except for when we released Rebellion. And so even though Rebellion was sold for DEC, we saw something like a threefold increase in SPS because really all the value goes to the SPS token. So we are going to sell Conclave Arcana for DEC, just like we're going to sell pretty much everything for DEC. But as soon as there's actually, a decent amount of demand coming in that outpaces the supply going out, um, all the value is going to go to the SPS token. It is all built that way, and I'm really excited to see that really happen. Um, Hopefully in 2025. So that's a good question, and I hope that makes it clear that the system is set up so that we sell things in DEC so everyone can plan ahead. They know the price within reasonable range. Um, and we don't have to deal with all the volatility issues. But still, all the value goes to SPS. I think it's one of the coolest things about how this whole thing is structured, and it's important that everyone here and new people coming in understand that, um, and that's how it works and why. Then a question from Nick John. This is a long one, so I'm gonna paraphrase here and not read the whole thing. But he wants to get my thoughts on an idea for rewarding modern players. How do I feel about making non-soulbound reward cards available as rewards for modern? It helps prevents farming and exploiting while incentivizing and rewarding real players, and it brings back the exciting feeling of getting a great card from a reward chest back in the day. Um, so yeah, I think and also with things like the wild pass, we can potentially do things like that also for wild as well. Maybe even for survival mode. So I would say open to these ideas, not just for modern, but for potentially all the different formats. And yeah, I think we obviously like made this shift toward soulbound cards, uh, again because there we had issues with bot farming and exploitation and things like that. Um, a lot of those issues have been resolved since then. So I think it's always good to take a step back and be like, okay, do we still need this? Right? Can we give out non soulbound cards? So I don't have the answer yet. I haven't done that exercise of thinking through it and getting feedback and all that stuff. But I will say that I think it's possible at this point that we can look at that, right? That we may not need to have everything be soul bound to prevent, farming and exploits. But we'll see. So that's definitely something I want to look into as we kind of like take an overview of all our formats, how things are today, or how they will be in the near future, and then see, well, did some of the things we do in the past, are they not necessary anymore? So that's a good question, a good thing for us to think about. Question from Gathering the Magic. How will the cards from Conclave Arcana complement the existing Rebellion cards? Rebellion seemed underpowered compared to Chaos, so will Conclave Arcana have more cards with Enrage, Double Strike, and Dual Splinter cards, etc.? It's a good question. That's one more for Call Me Tim. So maybe that's one maybe we can post again in the town hall channel and tag him later on after this live event is done. I'd like him to answer that. From my perspective, it's one of the things I've talked to him about in the past is we um, do want to make Conclave Arcana synergize with Rebellion as much as possible. So it's not just oh, I can just buy the Conclave Arcana cards, or oh, I just have a bunch of Rebellion cards, so I don't need the other set really. But the goal is to hopefully like having both of them, they can synergize together to make that combination of the two sets better than just having one set by itself. Um, and we definitely want to make them powerful and make them cards that players really want to have. I think you can see we've been going that direction a lot more with the promo cards and things in the Hall of Legends. um and yeah, so that's my feeling on it, but ultimately Call Me Tim's the one that's going to be designing it, so we'll try to hear from him in chat later. Question from Intrepid Surfer. You previously mentioned guilds as an area needing improvement. With Cryptomancer finishing land, could land resources be incorporated into guild upgrades? For example, using resources to enhance guild buildings or unlock upgrades. Same goes for conflicts. Is it something that could be explored? Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about that, because I talked about all these projects, and these are all like the Q1 projects. And we recently had a meeting with a bunch of people on the team to discuss priorities beyond Q1 for next year, although it's harder to predict how things are going to go and what will be the best things to focus on. But one of the biggest things in my mind is guilds. And with all the marketing uh, discussions we've been having with the new marketing folks, a lot of the discussion has been around guilds. I mean, we've clearly identified guilds as like one of the key factors for new players being engaged and retaining in the and sticking around in the Splinterlands ecosystem. um, so we not only want to encourage everyone to be part of a guild, but clearly like the guild system needs updating. It's been years. So I think the next major focus uh, beyond the things that we already talked about is going to be guilds. I don't know the details of that yet, but I want to focus on a lot more collaborative, rewarding things. So like you have to work together, and the more your guild mates do stuff, the more rewards everybody gets in the guild. And being able to expand on the brawls and have more opportunities to battle against other guilds and have leaderboards, and glamours can factor into that as a new way to offer rewards to kind of show off um, your success or your guild's status. And then I did also mention with land specifically, once Cryptomancer's done with land 1.75 and we have these more resources, one of the next parts we're going to be looking into is how we integrate that into all other parts of the game. So that'll be guilds, definitely among everything else. So yes, thank you for asking about that. And that's what we're looking at there. Question from Vet V. Considering the upcoming kitchen tape game mode for all, kitchen table game mode for all, launching soon, i.e., I'm just going to call it customizable challenges. Um, what interesting rule set combinations might you want to see played, or mana caps, element limitations to make for strange yet entertaining gameplay? Oh boy, that really puts me on the spot. I don't know. Let me think about that one. And I know that above in the chat, someone was mentioning, it was probably you, that to sponsor streamers that are doing that. So I'd love to, maybe participate on a stream sometime with somebody that's, doing those and picking combinations. I don't know off the top of my head what I would say. I generally, I really like rule set combinations that kind of severely limit your card choices. And the recent rule sets we added, a lot of that was my, you know, me suggesting those to, like, only cards that have more than X speed or X attack or whatever it is. Just like more things that really limit your card choices, because then you're forced to pick lots of cards that you wouldn't normally pick, or use them in kind of different and unusual ways. And those, to me, those battles are kind of the most fun to me. So I would pick like the most restricting and strange combinations of rule sets and elements, um, that you just see all sorts of weird cards that you'd never expect before in those situations.
Something we're looking at right now, since it's not out yet. We're looking at the ability to do more than three rule sets as part of it. So we're
Ooh.
toying around with the idea that maybe we'll let you go up to nine, somewhere between 3 and 9, to make really crazy game modes. But we'll see what comes out in release. But that may be a feature that you can do more than three rule sets per match.
Yeah, see, this is the good stuff that happens when you have people like Investigator and the other people on the team that have fun with what they're building here. So there you go. Potentially a 9 rule set battle. I can't even imagine how that would go. Um, Question from Gathering the Magic: when will the Glint store get different items? What about the idea of a set of cards that are available in a 24-hour rotating store item? Every day, a new card or item is available. It'll help people to get to log in every day and see what new exciting item is in the Glint store. Um, yeah, I guess the number one thing that's probably going to be added to the Glint store is going to be the glamours and cosmetics, or at least a subset of them. So that's like on our current roadmap. There's definitely going to be a number of glamour and cosmetic items that are planned to be added into the Glint store. Um, and then absolutely in the future, I think we want to add all sorts of kind of new cool stuff, rotating items or whatever it is. But on the current list of short-term items, it'll be glamours and cosmetics as the new stuff for the Glint shop. Um, Question from Quantum Nachos: when revenue returns to Splinterlands company with the newest set, will all current team members be restored to full pay rates before new hires are introduced, if and when any are needed? Um, yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure exactly what will happen or how it will go. But I feel like the team members that we have are awesome. They put their ton of time and heart and energy into this, and for the most part are not compensated as much as I would like to compensate them for what they do and what they deserve. So, as soon as we're in a position in the company that we can do that, I would like to make sure the people that were here and stuck around and got us to this point, and made all this happen, they deserve to be rewarded for that. Um, I think before we look to get more people in here. And I'm going to be very, very careful about bringing in more people. I feel like that was one of the mistakes and the issues last time around, when the company was doing well financially. We kind of went a bit nuts with bringing in tons of people, and I feel like it actually decreased our productivity. There was just too many cooks in the kitchen in a lot of ways, a lot of managers, and different people. It's all butting heads, and spending all this time working on planning and meetings and all these things. So um, I want to be very, very careful about bringing new people into the ecosystem, and I really want to focus on the people that are going to be our hardcore people, not people that are just here for a job, and don't really care about the product or what we're doing, but the people like Nate and Investy and pretty much everybody on the team now that just kind of live and breathe and love Splinterlands. So to be very careful and specific about our hiring when we are able to get there. Um, Very nostalgic picture from Lewis 88 there. I'll call out uh, that you can see on the stream from probably 2018 when the game used to look like that. All right, let's see where the next question is here. Another question from Vet V, and please let me know if I missed any. I was scrolling kind of quickly. In the recent TPG podcast interview, I mentioned the release time for Conclave Arcana could be flexible. Does that include a possibility of an earlier than April release? I mean, I guess anything's possible. I think that would probably be highly unlikely just because, it's going to take a while to get everything ready. There's like a bunch of new stuff also. I probably don't even remember all the new stuff off the top of my head, but you can look at the announcement posts. So the new pack types for one. Trying to get that out sooner seems unlikely. And it's just like that was kind of the soonest I thought was realistic for getting all that stuff out. And we're probably going to have even more, new stuff, especially like we want to have the release support the marketing campaign also. So we may have some little tweaks and changes to do that. So we're shooting for April, and unless there's really some uh, big serious reason why it would need to be a different time, we're shooting for April. Also, will the release be similar to the previous sets, 30-day pre-sale before the launch date? If so, is April the official launch date target or the start of the pre-sale target? That I'm not 100% sure of. Ideally, I would like the pre-sale to start in March and then the full launch to be in April. But that we'll see again if we make it there, and also if we're ready on the marketing front and all that stuff. So that it could be that the pre-sale starts in April and the official launch is in May. But at the moment, we do plan to do the normal kind of 30-day pre-sale with a leaderboard and design rights for legendary summoners and all that fun stuff that we've seen in the past, and limited promo cards and that type of stuff. Um, let's see. Next question from Gathering the Magic. Do you know the rarity of summoners available in keeps trying to say Chaos Legion, Conclave Arcana yet, or is it still in development? Any hits? No, I don't know. Call Me Tim is working on that. I have no idea what he's thinking yet. But if he wants to give hints, I'll ask him to do so. Lewis 88 has 3 questions. Survival pass coming too because bots just leeching the system. So initially, I do not plan to have a pass for survival mode. I want to see if and exactly how much of a problem bots leeching the system is, because it will be very different than our existing modes. And if it turns out that there is an opportunity for leeching the system to any serious degree that's causing a problem, we will 100% add something like a pass or some other mechanism to prevent that. But I don't want to start with that in anticipation of something that may not be an issue that requires it. Um, and question is survival mode only for owned assets. Also, not planned to be for that at first. So we want to encourage people to rent cards, especially. Uh, so I don't see any reason at this point why they won't be allowed in survival mode. And the question: possible switch to active key instead of posting key for submitting a battle transaction. I would like to hear more and understand why you would like that. Um, I guess so you don't want someone getting your posting key and killing your cards, I guess. But generally, that's a temporary thing. So, as much as possible, I would like everyone to be able to play the full game using the posting key and have active key only be for when there's like actually moving assets out of the account. So unless that somehow becomes a big problem, and I feel like there's also better ways than sharing the posting key. Like we should work on. In the past, we've talked about like allowing more granting authorities. So rather than if you use a service or something, rather than giving them your posting key, just to be able to grant them an authority within the game. So I really would prefer not to use active keys for things because it just makes it a more annoying, difficult experience for players. Um, Also on the active key thing, I think a lot of people are probably going to use bots and bot services for survival mode. So I definitely don't want people giving bots and bot services their active key, especially. So um, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. Uh, uh, from Vet V again, what's my take on gladiators in non-guild brawl gameplay and the summoners for gladiators? Some in the community believe the use of gladiators outside guild brawls is a mistake. Others seem fine with it. Many feel the summoners with ability to use gladiators is the biggest challenge. And zombie accounts with earned gladiators can bot in wild forever with zero core promo cards owned or rented. Yeah, well, as far as zombie accounts botting in wild forever, that's why we have the wild pass. So if they want to pay for it every month or every 2 weeks, that's fine. So I don't think that one's really an issue anymore. But in general, I could go either way. So I think generally being able to use gladiator cards in non-guild brawl battles makes guild brawls that much more exciting and important, which I think is good because we talked about the importance of guilds and doing that. So I like that. But that being said, there's probably other ways we can accomplish that. So if that's something the community really doesn't want, um, I'm open to maybe a proposal or a poll or something to get the community's opinion on it. Um, Question when from AP Risen, when Yabat Matt card? Also a good question. I kind of forgot about that. I don't know, Nate, if you've heard anything or talked to Call Me Tim about that at all.
He probably just wants to keep his job because once that card's released, it better be freaking impressive as all hell. So, he doesn't want to underwhelm anyone once that card is released, is the way I'm taking it.
Got it. Okay. We'll see. Yeah. I'm certainly not against it, but I also don't want to like force it out. Um, if it doesn't work for some reason. So I'll check in. We have a bunch of things to check in on Call Me Tim about. Maybe we'll have to get him on a town hall soon to talk about some of this stuff. Um, Question from AP Risen: would you consider Akane to be buffed to be 4 mana? Dragon seems outshadowed by Tofu now. Um, is the question? Do we think Akane should be 4 mana?
I think so. It's currently 5, I think. I think that's the summoner that lets you
Yeah, Akane's the dragon summoner. Um,
Yeah, I mean, most summoners are outshadowed by tofu, except for a couple. But I don't know that buffing other summoners retroactively is the best way to address that.
Yeah, I mean, generally we've, I think done a pretty good job of not having to change cards. And I guess I prefer not to do that. But also that's one of the things that the DAO proposal system is there for, right? So if the player community overwhelmingly feels like a certain card should be changed, put up a proposal, and I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't do that if that's how the SPS stakeholders feel. My guess is that they generally be against that. Um, but we can't know for sure without an actual proposal. But so I wouldn't just go ahead and do it without like clear support from the community to do so. Let me see where we are here. Question from Fantasy Crypto regarding land with the 1.75 upgrade incoming. Have there been any calculations of the potential impact that might occur with grain requirements? Is there a possibility that grain consumption requirements might be adjusted relative to the amount of grain producing plots that'll likely be available under the new versions? Uh, Yeah, so we haven't done the numbers for all of that yet. There's going to be change to production values and requirements. I mean, obviously, there's going to be new resources that are going to be required. So, yeah, I mean, the grain requirements are probably going to have to change. You know, because kind of everything's changing. So that's going to be part of the design process is coming up with all the new numbers for everything. Uh, Question from Mega Marcus: would it be difficult to set a request when someone is leaving a guild, whether he wants to set his undonated guild power to permanent before leaving? I think this would be a great UX improvement. Um, yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't. Like, I assume you mean like a little like pop up or say like when you click to leave a guild, say do you want to donate your guild power? I don't see any issue with doing that. Um,
So please leave the suggestion in the UX channel so we can follow up on it outside of the
yeah,
content.
thank you. We got a question from Vugtis. All right, this is also a long one, so I'm going to try to paraphrase and not spend time reading the whole thing. Looking at the stats of some of the rebellion and promo cards, it's clear that most of the values given to lower level cards, and it causes an economy issue where there's not incentive to level up the cards. Additionally, it's getting exponentially more expensive to level up at higher level. So, so yeah, I think this is especially from the some of the discussion on the last promo card, or this was the last voucher shop card. Uh, but yeah, this is something that we like. I especially want to make sure is taken into account very heavily for Conclave Arcana. That we do everything we can to make sure it is well worth it to get the cards to max level, and that there's appropriate, you know, increases in stats for that. So that's a discussion that, me and Call Me Tim and possibly other people are going to be involved in when we're designing the new set. Um, but yeah, we definitely want to make sure players are very much incentivized to combine cards and to get max level cards. So I hear you on that, Vugtis. And yeah, I'm gonna try to be part of the process and work with Call Me Tim to do that. Let's see here. All right, we're kind of I think there's only a few questions left in the chat here. Um, so I'll read those off. If you guys have any other questions, get them in now. I'm going to ask Ron to kind of cut off the questions pretty soon, and we might end this one a little early so people can get in their last minute holiday shopping here, and then we get ready for next year. So get in your questions now, and then in a few minutes, Ron, if you want to, you know, call an end to the questions, that sounds good. AP Risen is asking if survival mode launch, and as you said, you will fund the reward and maybe ask the DAO to fund it. What if the DAO turns it down? Does the survival mode will continue to be online? Um, I mean, we'll have to see. So if survival mode is clearly not doing well and people don't like it and it's not fun or good, then I assume we might not even ask the DAO to fund it at that point. I think my hope or expectation is that it'll be very clearly one way or the other. Either it will be, a failure, which I don't expect, or it will be very clearly an awesome mode that people really like, in which case, and it will be very beneficial in like market volumes and people putting money into the ecosystem to compete in it, in which case I would think the DAO would be very supportive of, giving it a reward pool going forward. But if not, uh, I guess it would be a weird situation where for some reason the team seems to think it's very beneficial for the game, but the community doesn't. And I guess we would talk with the DAO, the members and the people voting, and understand maybe why they turned it down. And maybe it's just that they want it structured a different way, or maybe different types of rewards. So I wouldn't say it would just if it seems to be working and being beneficial, we would just work with the community to hopefully come up with some way to keep it on, keep it running and online, um, in a different way, I guess. It's one of those things. It's hard to say until we see what happens. Quantum Nachos is asking when use case for research points. Personally, I don't think many landowners will do the potential glamour option that was proposed in the past beyond for personal use. Um, well, I mean, after land 1.75 is done, the kind of the next part as we start working on the rest of the stuff for phase two, um, is going to be utility for research points. I think that's one of the main ways I want to integrate land in the rest of the game. So whatever it is, for whether it's guilds, whether it's glamours, whether it's whatever, um, I'd like to do that through research, because that's like kind of the main export of land at this point, and for the foreseeable future before items and spells come out, is research. Like that's the end goal of like why you have land. So every place that we look to integrate land as utility in the game will probably be done through research points one way or another, and then all the other resources and land effectively go toward earning research points. So that's how that would work. Question from Vet V: any discussion on the next batch of Gladiator cards coming out, or perhaps a flow of new Gladiator cards to spice things up? Now that merits come from Glint chests, Gladiator cards are getting maxed much faster. Yeah, that was one of the items on the big list of like potential things for 2025. It's not on the near term roadmap as we've discussed. Um, but just because also like there's like kind of a million things, and as far as like what's the top priorities, that's not a top priority as far as getting a ton more people in here, and getting things going for 2025. But hopefully, um, if things kind of work out as well as I'm expecting they might, we should have time to start getting to all those other things that we weren't able to get to yet. And new gladiator cards are definitely on that list, possibly along with a guild overhaul that I talked about earlier. So that would be a good opportunity if we change how guilds work and brawls or whatever, add more things that you can do with guilds. A new set of gladiator cards or something similar goes along with that. Um, Another question from Vet V. The last promo card, Ulfga, had a change within about 12 hours just before the launch in the store. Can you walk us through how the team received community feedback, what actions we took, and who was involved, and the considerations leading to the change? Overall, I think it was a great thing. Yeah, I mean, the real issue was, I guess we were just behind on that, and the stats for the card were only publicly released like a day before the card was supposed to be released. So the big takeaway, in my opinion, is we always like to incorporate community feedback. Um, we just need to do as much as we can to try to make sure we are ahead of things that are scheduled for a specific time. So we make sure we have like at least a week where we announce things to the community, are able to get feedback, and then make changes. So it was only kind of rushed and last minute, um, because we were behind in getting that out to the community. But I mean, other than that, the process was just a rushed version of what we typically do, which is if we put something out, we listen to the community feedback, and if it's like good feedback that we agree with and makes sense, then we go and change it. And I mean, as far as what actions we took and who was involved, I mean, it was pretty much everyone. We got on a call, we looked at what the players were saying, we evaluated the thoughts and the comments, and overall that we agreed that it made sense to make a change. So it was kind of pretty simple, and I think that the main issue was really just that there wasn't enough time, uh you know for that. And so that was the main takeaway for me, was do everything we can to make sure we announce things with enough time before they launch. um and we've seen the same thing with Conclave Arcana. We put out the announcement post. There's been a ton of feedback and suggestions. My guess is, a number of those things are going to be incorporated as we get closer to the launch, and same with survival mode, etc. Question from Clayboyne: is the plan still to have a new tutorial in place along with the mobile app being ready before Conclave Arcana launches and the marketing push? Can you share the status of these things? Yeah, the mobile app I already mentioned is coming along very nicely, so I definitely think that should be in the app stores, barring anything unexpected before the launch and before we do the marketing. Um, and whether it's specifically a new full tutorial, or I don't know, but we definitely want to make sure the onboarding experience is as good as possible before we spend time and energy on marketing. So that's kind of a big project for the next few months, is to make sure when players come into the game, um, they have a good experience and are able to learn and understand the game, and also be rewarded, and feel like they're getting ahead. So I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but yeah, those are two things we would like to have as far along as possible before the set and marketing launch. Question from Mega Marcus: have you ever thought about additional negative abilities on the lower levels of a card? On a higher level, it loses the ability. I had not thought of that, but I think that is cool. So, gonna also ping Call Me Tim on that one. Um, yeah, no, I hadn't thought of it. Very, very cool idea to lose a negative ability as a card levels up. Um, Question from Vugtis: is Glamour gonna be soulbound? Um, I think the glamour points themselves are planned to be soulbound. So like most of the glamour system is planned to be soulbound. Um, but I think the plan is to leave open the opportunity to have like special promo or limited edition glamours that are like max level glamours that can be traded on the market. That we can use as like very special rewards. But the majority, like the regular glamours for the main sets of cards, are planned to be soulbound. A question from YouTube from Extreme Player 63: please tell Matt and the team I'm wishing them all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you. Really appreciate that. I mean, I think the team, especially Investigator and some of the devs that have been doing releases, week after week, and dealing with all the issues and everything that comes up, and the support team. We can all use a break. That's why we're not doing any releases, until January, and generally we're just going to kind of chill, for the next couple weeks here, and take a little break and hit the pavement hard in 2025. So thank you, Extreme Player 63, and will you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well. Um, Question: how much am I paying for a gold foil Heloise? I don't know. I put in, the last one ended in the middle of the night for me, so I didn't have the opportunity to get in on the bidding at the end. I put in 7.5 million. I think Cryptomancer in retrospect made the right move, when he just jumped up to a really high bid, uh, just to make sure, he didn't get into like a bidding war at the end, and make sure he got it. That clearly, I think, was the way to go. Um, so I don't know. I got 18 more days to decide, I think, for the next one. But I do really want to try to get one of the five. In a way, I feel like bad for taking one of those from the community of players. But at the end of the day, I built the game because I like this type of game. I like getting these extremely rare cards. So, and I am a player, first and foremost. So I'm gonna try to get one. It also might depend on where Bitcoin is over the next month or so. Looks like we hit the end of the questions. Thank you, everyone. I want to remind everyone that if you missed the call live, or you have other questions that come up, post them in the town hall channel. I've been doing a much better job. I have a little reminder for myself every week to go in there and answer questions. So put them in this town hall channel here in Discord, and myself or other team members will get to them, relatively quickly. How to even wrap this up? I don't know. It's hard. What do you guys think? It's been a crazy year in a ton of ways. It looks to be. I've said before, like, I don't even know how to plan or expect what might happen in 2025, given everything that I talked about earlier. Um, Maybe we just tell everyone to really like take a break and relax, because things might get insane when we hit 2025.
Well, I'd like to thank the support team for all the work they do working with the players in the community and really doing a whole lot of jobs around the company. Um, thank the community and the players, Jedi Elf for doing the new tutorial, all of the streamers out there that cover the game, After Sound, and Bulldog, and I'm going to forget a bunch of them, but P Silence. Uh, and everybody that comes and hangs out on Discord and listens to the town halls and participates in the game. So thank you for being here through the end of 2024. We appreciate you and hope you stick around for 2025. Nate, any closing thoughts?
No, basically all of those folks, plus all of our enthusiastic and passionate product evangelists out there. You guys know who you are out there on X and YouTube and just shouting from the rooftops why you think Splinterlands is great and has so much upside and what you're excited about. I mean, geez, I mean that we really appreciate that. So even before we get our marketing ramped up, you guys are already there in the trenches doing exactly that. So, we see you, we see your efforts, and we really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Um, and then probably big hats off to my wife, Rainey, who puts up with me while I put in so much work, and she sees, the meetings and the enthusiasm of the team, and she kind of gets an inside look at all that stuff, and and all the family members who put up with all the team members who are passionately working day in and day out. Uh, like Joey, he'll be on, working at odd times during the day. I'm wondering, like, crap, hope you're. I'm thinking, I hope your wife's okay with all the work I'm giving you guys. So, no, for sure. I hope everyone has some well deserved time off, and same with the community, and have a great holidays, great Christmas. Great New Year's.
Yeah, thank you for calling out both of you, so many people. I feel like I'm actually the one who is the most grateful uh, for our team, especially because in the past I was the one. It was a much smaller game, but like I was the one dealing with all this stuff. Um, and so and I got to a point where I was like ready to literally have a nervous breakdown, and just like couldn't handle it. I wasn't able to get any sleep because things were breaking 24/7. Um, so I feel every day the fact that I like when I wake up in the morning and I was like, I didn't get woken up in the middle of the night. I'm like, that's because of these people that we have here in the team. And then I go into the game and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that we like completely redesigned the navigation, right? And it's because we have awesome people, also on the creative team, and they're just all like they don't sit around and wait for their boss to come tell them what thing to do next. They're all playing the game, and they're not only taking care of everything and making things run smoothly. Obviously we just haven't had a ton of downtime at all, pretty much. There's the bugs and issues have been extremely minimal compared to in the past, and then the amount of changes and quality of life stuff, just I just look at the release notes and I'm like, holy crap, every week. And I appreciate so much the fact that I don't have to be the one doing and driving every single little thing that happens, and it's to the point where I don't even know about a lot of the things that happens, which is fantastic. So yeah, so to the team, if you guys are listening, and I'll for now address it to Nate and Investigator who are here. Yeah, thank you guys because you've made my life like go back to normal, which also helps me be able to work on high level planning and ideas, and how do we take this thing to the next level overall. So it majorly benefits everyone in the ecosystem having the team here that we do. That's why I mentioned wanting to be very careful when we hire new people to make sure we keep that and make sure that the existing team gets what they deserve first. Um, and then obviously, to the player community, uh, none of this would happen without you guys. So thank you for sticking with us for so long. I know it has been difficult at times. But it's fantastic, and that's what keeps me going, and especially with Blaze coming in and really um pushing the social media stuff. Like, I for a long time I stopped reading X anymore because it's just like kind of depressing. It's mostly like how bad the world is, or all these things going on, and I stopped reading it completely. And definitely, over the last few months, have been starting to get notifications because I've been tagged in posts and things, and I go on and I just see so much awesome stuff about Splinterlands and people sharing things and like, oh, I got this new card or whatever, and the new contests and things that are going on. And so, I've kind of curated my following feed a bit more to be more Splinterlands heavy, and I do try to make sure to go on a more regular basis now to see all that stuff. So, we got to keep that up, and we got to make as big a splash as we can. And you're the community is our extended team basically. So you know it's awesome to see you guys stepping up, especially as things have been difficult leading up to now. And it's walk out again, and turn everything around. And I am so excited to hopefully hear all those stories of all you guys posting like, I stuck around through 2023 and 2024, and now my rebellion packs are worth this much, and like all this stuff, whatever it is. Like I'm just dying to get to those stories like we heard a bit in 2021 and 22. uh it's just so exciting to see the potential for that to happen again. All right. Yeah, I don't have much more to say than that. Yeah, have a great holidays, have a great new year, everybody. Get some rest, get ready. uh don't outbid me on the next gold foil Heloise auction. And we'll see for a whirlwind of a Q1 in 2025 with all the major updates we're going to have. Um, so thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you in January.
This is a story.